Hello and welcome to Daily Global Insights with Sree and Sree. I'm your host Sree Iyer and joining me is Sridhar Chityalaji. Sridharji, namaskar and welcome to episode 51.
Namaskar and good morning to everybody. Nice to be here.
Sir, elections, US elections, a lot of stuff very hot right now, and we have a lot of stuff to cover today, like yesterday. So stay tuned and fasten your seatbelts. This is going to be a very fast roundup of a lot of moving events. Sir, let us start with Georgia. Lots of stuff happening in Georgia, especially in the Coffee County, sir, where an election supervisor has made a startling announcement. Why don't we start from there, sir?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. Yesterday, the Epoch Times reporting that how exactly one is able to adjudicate through a process called adjudication. What's an adjudication process? The adjudication process, you have a ballot in which votes have been cast. When someone is looking at the at that specific ballot in a system, you can basically amend the vote and switch that or count it in favor of somebody other than the people who were cast. So what happens is that you see a tick or a dot mark, and then there is an override, and then you find on let's say against Biden or Trump. In this instance, it's Biden. They have overridden and assigned a specific a tick mark, which shows that the vote is in favor of Mr. Biden as opposed to the original people. There's also a process called when you have these kinds of multiple overrides. The machine is supposed to decline that ballot, and then you have to give the person a new ballot so the person fills in and so on, or the ballot has to be invalidated. Now, what they're demonstrating here is how the software can be used to override an existing vote. I think that's what they're trying to demonstrate here, that if someone says that the system is fail-proof, that's not the case. And that's what this demonstrates. This is one more issue in a slew of issues that seems to be surrounding the whole Georgia election counting.
Sir, this next item is also very interesting. Now, yesterday we said that there were 16 states joining on the side of Texas in that lawsuit against the 4 states in SCOTUS. What do we have today, sir? I'm hearing something about 22 states going against that. Is that true?
Yeah, true. Look, sorry, I missed. Let me kind of add a couple of things in Georgia with your permission and move to them. The second item with regard to Georgia is they have this Dropbox ballots, closely 600,000. Everything has to be accounted for when they basically digitally transfer and archive it. 83% of the 600,000 votes have not been received. So casting another doubt, that today we are on December 11th, which is more than 5 weeks since the elections are complete. There's one more issue that is being raised by Sidney Powell's team. This is besides the adjudication. This is besides the suitcase. Jackie Deason, who gave a persuasive evidence to state that what are these people doing when the Republican adjudicators or observers left the place. And she was again back on the television with Kevin Freeman, which is what they call as one of these independent bodies, which says that preserves the integrity of the truth. So this is a third thing that remains unresolved as to who are these people, and of course they are the voters, they are the counters. Why they brought these suitcases? What's the purpose of these suitcases when there was nobody when the independent observers from the other side was not present? So you have the third issue, and then the fourth issue that has also sprung up in Georgia is this apparent meeting that took place between Mr. Kemp and some Chinese Chinese council officials, questioning whether before the choice of the Dominion system, what was the purpose, whether there was subtle pressure that was exerted in the choice. So, and Sidney Powell's case still continues on voting patterns and abnormalities and invalid counts, etc. All those things still continue to persist, case after case, as many of them get dismissed. It seems to be piling up. So Georgia, to complete, it's a whole ecosystem of issues that still kind of is prevalent. I didn't want to leave those things unaddressed because since we were talking about Georgia, right, it seems to have a number of things that's going again, number of things that remains unresolved. With regard to your specific question, now it is 39 states in all, 16 plus one Republican states validating or questioning the integrity, in addition to President Trump's legal team seeking intrusion into the matter as an adjacent or as an integral part of the filing into Supreme Court. So 22 Democratic states have stated that people have cast their franchise, so therefore it should not be invalidated. This is a bunch of allegations, right? So you have 39 states now in Supreme Court with this specific issue. The state of Ohio, the Attorney General has made a very interesting observation, just to wrap up that discussion around the states, a very interesting observation, which is to say, look, I'm not questioning the election, but I'm questioning the validity of the executive branch and the judicial branch to override the legislature branch, which is the mandated body, to suit and define the electoral process. That's exactly the case which the 17 states are filing, which is namely, how can we have one set of rules for ourselves and these 4 states have different set of rules which seem to change as the situation went. So it's very interesting whether he didn't want to join. John Kasich, the Republican senator, has also kind of made a statement that people should kind of accept. So there is a lot of issues around pro versus against, and now the states have come in. So it looks like the way this is going is whether the SCOTUS, and then the President Trump tweeted, which is to say the SCOTUS should be brave and make the right decision for the country given the systemic issues. And he went one step further. He called this whole election is rigged and fraudulent, and the democracy and the of the state is in question, almost like there is a coup underway.
And viewers should bear in mind that the stories that we carried yesterday about the involvement of an alleged Chinese spy, Fang, is just one small microcosm of what could have happened around the whole country of United States. This is not new. Honey trapping is not new. What is new is what was it done and how it is now being played out. We have a lot of things that we've been observing, and we would say that if you want latest news on some of these things, a new company called the Epoch, EPOCH Times, is carrying a lot of information. I believe it is free. I have not checked it. There is also some premium content there, but it is a good place to start because here, for one, is a fresh site. We have had some visitors, some people who work at Epoch Times come on our hangouts also, so we know a few of the people out there. So all I'm saying is, if you want more detailed, more in-depth than what you are getting in this platform, do look up Epoch Times. So let's move on to other things in the United States. Now, you gave a quick number, 17 on one side, 22 again, so that is 39. They are going up against 4 states, that makes it 43. Then you have Ohio, which I think is sort of confusing in between, that's 44. And then Colorado had something to say also.
Yes, Colorado now has woken up and said, well, the Colorado legislature is stating that, look, I think we need to test the validity and the integrity of the system. So let us have an independent, an inquiry. So the legislature is going to hold an independent inquiry with regard to the conduct of the elections in the state of Colorado. So just to wrap, again, your side, there's still Republican senators or Republican representatives in some of the legislatures, clearly Pennsylvania and a few other states, have also joined the case against their own state, stating that their views are not being heard by the governor, which is the executive branch, and is not calling the legislature to basically, to discuss this specific issue. So this is the issue around the power of the legislature versus the power of executive and judicial branch. So you have to add to the confusion, you have these two. You have some of these states, at least 4 states, to my belief, have joined the potpourri in this Supreme Court case or SCOTUS.
Thank you, sir. Now let's take a look at what is happening on COVID. As winter, is firmly in now in the northern hemisphere of the world. We are seeing for the first time yesterday 3,000 deaths in the United States alone. Sridharji, could you give us a quick wrap up of how COVID is being contained around the whole world?
Well, I think, in fact, we should maybe next week, early next week or Monday, we'll put up a chart. It's very fascinating. We added 156,000 new cases, somewhere, depending on when I looked at that number, 156,000 new cases yesterday, right? As of this morning, when I looked at the data, close to 100,000 or somewhere nearby is coming from one country, which is United States. The rest of the countries in the world make up the balance, okay, notwithstanding the huge population. Whether these numbers are correct or not, I can't say, because it is tabulated from WHO to Johns Hopkins to World Medical Information Center, and all these different bodies are modulating these numbers. When I look at India, which is in number 2, yesterday we were close to less than 400,000 active cases. Today, India is less than 363,000 active cases, while the total number of cases have actually gone up. In Brazil, it's about 630,000 cases. Brazil is 6.3 or 6.4 million total cases, and India is around inching closer to 10 million cases. What it's showing to me, these numbers, is the active cases are either stable or coming down in India. The number of deaths have remained fairly stable when you look at the numbers. Then when you look at United States, I'm ignoring Russia for the time being. I'm only looking at the top 3, which are 5 million plus. Then when you look at the situation with United States, it's going up. So I think this is a fundamental question that needs to be asked, which is to say, what is the problem that United States has? Or is this something that people are saying, because constantly President Trump has been berated that he has mismanaged COVID. He has mismanaged COVID. I don't know how you manage or mismanage COVID in the world. The only way you can mismanage is not develop a vaccine, not have a mass program to coordinate and move an agenda forward. So when you look at all this, mere social distancing, mere mass, there's also contentious theory whether the social distancing works, whether mass work, etc., etc. So there's a lot of kind of unanswered questions in terms of the divergence between what's happening in United States and what's happening in rest of the world. With regard to the programs, Japan, because everybody is on Pfizer, Pfizer BioNTech is the number one. One of the things that it mandates is both from a preservation and transportation point of view, it requires cold storage. So cold storage is one of the fundamental people. So Japan, which has got 110,000 hospitals, and South Korea, which doesn't have enough beds to deal with the issue, so using ships. Indonesia, which wanted to be what they call I don't want to use the word halal or something, the specific term that they've used. Most of these countries seems to be now complying that they need. And most of the countries are moving forward with the BioNTech. Of course, some of the Latin American countries are going with the Sinovac, which is the Chinese one. Japan is the only country which has got ordered 140 million vials of, 150 million vials of, 120 million vials of BioNTech, Pfizer BioNTech. They also are rolling out Moderna, and they're also rolling out 50 million Moderna, and I think about close to 100 million AstraZeneca. India has its own, the two programs that India has. So India is moving forward with those two programs from Serum Laboratory and Bharat Biotech in Hyderabad. So I think it seems like that the programs, and then the Britain is reporting that there are some initial reactions for some of the people, either in the elderly category or in the younger category, in response to the vaccine. So this is the situation with regard to COVID in terms of how it is being addressed. So this is going to be the big topic. lack of stimulus for COVID is a big concern around the world.
Sir, let's take a quick look at the Chicago City Council update. Let's take a quick look at Chicago City Council and its December 16th date, where they were going to vote on a CAA bill of India. Sir, this is something that is now drawing a lot of curious remarks. People have been researching, and someone has found out that the United States itself has had laws in place wherein they were treating people from a specific country based on whether they were Muslim or not. Do you have some update on this, sir?
Well, the update that I have is that they are not stopping. They're moving forward. None of these resolutions seems to. It's like, a running train, making its way towards the wreck. So therefore, all trains seems to have left the station. They are on autopilot. Don't be surprised, as Mr. Sree Iyer pointed out, there could be 40 more or 44 more councils, one after the other looping up, because the whole objective seems to be very orchestrated against targeting India, right? So when Mr. Trump was in power, they wanted to embarrass India, so they came up with it, notwithstanding if there is an objectivity, you call the legal luminaries or constitutional experts of the country to opine what exactly is CAA and how it addresses, or what exactly is Article 370 and how it addresses. They have no intent to call because the opinion has been formed. Very similar to the left liberal media here, which has a very defined opinion on who Biden is and who Trump is. Doesn't matter. We don't look at the truth. Okay, if it is sun is rising, no, sun is rising. No, sun is not rising, sun is setting. They have a defined view, notwithstanding the fact that there is a due legal process and due vetting that has happened, very similar to what you are saying in the farmers' agitation, right? People kind of coming up. So they have a defined view. Once you have a defined view, there's nothing that you can do. That's exactly what's happening in CAA. It's like, we're going to embarrass India. So therefore, council after council, where we believe we have majority, right, brute majority, will basically go ahead and pass the resolution. We will not even hear you. Okay, we will not even hear you. We will not even call you to the council meeting. You can send your emails. If you're lucky, maybe we'll change. But otherwise, we have decided this is how we're going to do. So this is the very, very unfortunate activism agenda, politically driven and motivated, rather than the nuances of what the law is.
I'm waiting to hear when any one city council is going to pass even a single sliver of a resolution against China for their Uyghur excesses against the Muslims, or against Pakistan for their treatment of the minorities. Please, let me know if even a single city council does anything like this. Oh, by the way, while you are voting against Modi for CAA, would you also consider taking up the plight of 500,000 Kashmiri Hindus who were driven out of their homes in 1990? Was that right? Did you say anything about it at that time? So these are all motivated. These are all funded by people who are mischievous, and they have money to throw around. Clearly, that is one thing that we've also mentioned to you. And the more these city councils are, continue to vote, the more they are actually showing that they are bigoted people. They don't want to look at the truth. They don't want to look at the fact, but they want to keep on peddling this fake narrative. At some point, this is going to completely collapse. Let's see if that's going to be the US elections result, because this is not going away, guys. There is a lot of stuff happening, and please stay with PGurus as we try and stay on top of all the different things, all the different lawsuits that are weaving their way through the various state courts. I mean, we don't even know how many of those things are going to start bubbling up to the SCOTUS. That the only thing that so far that we have been mentioning was the one in Pennsylvania lawsuit with this Pennsylvania Supreme Court had made a ruling which is now being challenged in Supreme Court, SCOTUS. I don't know what is the status on that one, sir, about the specific ruling of the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court, which said that you can accept ballots even after November 3rd.
No, I think that if you recall, the SCOTUS, the circuit court, which is led by Samalito, had stated segregate the votes, pre and post, so that when we can address this issue later. With regard to this question that you have raised, they have ruled that this can now be taken under the broader constitutional question. So therefore, they dismissed it on technical grounds by stating it is already elevated and escalated by Texas. So we will address this as a broader kind of the bench issue rather than dealing it at two separate levels. Once that event occurred, or once that outcome occurred, then you found that the 6 states joining, and now it is joined by 4 states joining. Then you have now 16 states with them, and then the 22 states. So that is the situation on Pennsylvania. Just to wrap your discussion around the previous topic, all one needs to look at is China has had no democracy. Every aspect of human rights it has violated. Every aspect within its own country and around the places. You could talk about Uyghur. What about Tibet? What about some of the Mongolian provinces? What about its own people? Right? The world has turned a blind eye. So you have all these liberals, including I find these global experts writing for Washington Post, stating opinion writers talking about, well, we need UN human rights, which Trump didn't support. So the UN human rights violation, the first candidate on the top of the list is China. Will they take it up? First list, number one. Number two, their violation of sovereignty and occupy illegally South China Sea. International Court of Justice passed a ruling against, filed by Philippines. Did they enforce it? Did anybody enforce ICJ? No. Number two. Number three, just recently, they violated all norms by imprisoning two, Joshua and Agnes, in Hong Kong, and suspended democratic principles, which is the legislative council members in Hong Kong. What did they do? They suspended and basically fired those people. And the only country which stood up first was President Trump from the United States. And then you had, of course, India objecting to it, France. This is the broad Quad countries accepting, and some of the European nations. So on every facet, China is given a free rein, and there is no accountability. And until such time, now they feel with Mr. Biden as the president, it is open sesame. They can do more and get away. And there is evidence which points out that Obama and Biden, when the South China Pacific no-fly zones were imposed, nothing was done to deter. Nothing from an enforcement point of view. Even ICJ, there's no enforcement. Now you take WTO issues, going right back. So WTO violations has not been enforced either. So to me, this is like a red herring by a bunch of guys. So what China is doing, we discussed it yesterday, it is trying to occupy universities. It is trying to buy out companies. It is trying to control the media. So they feel by controlling the ecosystem that way, this type of an agenda can be pursued, with no due validity and verification. So this is the root, and which is to say, your enemy is my enemy. So therefore, I align with you so I can tackle your enemy. Right? It's our common enemy. Because it's your enemy is also my enemy. So let me kind of align with all these forces, though I may not agree in principle, but I'll tackle these other enemies. So this type of things makes this is why our friend Mr. President Trump had problems with UN, had problems with WHO, had problems with many WTO, had problems with World Bank, had problems with IMF, because many of these institutions created post-World War II have not reformed nor have transformed to the realities of today. I just wanted to close on that topic because of the CAA is a classic example of targeting India, very similar to what they have not done against China.
One of the things that we're going to go into markets now, and I'm going to lead off by I'm going to come back to China and markets in just a moment. But let's first take a look at the market, sir. The unemployment numbers have again started rising post COVID when we started seeing that there was a steep spike when there was a lockdown, and then the numbers were slowly coming down, and now again there's a slight uptick. What do you make of those unemployment numbers, Sridharji?
711,000 we went. Now we are back to 853,000. We were around that number. We made our way down, right? What is the reason? Two essential aspects. We have now more shutdowns because people are saying, more of these liberal states are saying shut down, shut down, shut down. I think we discussed this. You walk around, I'm in Manhattan, so you walk around Manhattan, almost unanimous, every restaurant owner is bitterly complaining that this thing is not, because most of the regular customer, most of the people here eat outside in Manhattan. So the story is most of them feel these people are regular clients. They come in, it's like an extended home. We take care of them. After all, you're not eating. Or you're not eating at home. That's number one. Number two is that they said, oh, if you eat outside, the possibility of you contracting COVID is very less. So people sat outside and started to eat and have their own kind of time. So everything is driven by I'm open to business. When you say you are going to shut down, you shut down the business and you find that naturally the employment numbers are going to come down. Second, the stimulus programs is run out of steam and there is this contention between the two sides on the resolution, notwithstanding the fact now the Trump or Mitch McConnell stimulus is 916 billion and 908 billion is the stimulus from Nancy Pelosi. But Nancy Pelosi has got packed two things. One is the elimination of business protection liability, which is to say, if kind of businesses falter or so and so are not compliant, you don't need to, you're not liable. The second is, which is even more chaotic, is funding some of the local state and bodies, local state councils and bodies. And this is Manushin's point. Why are we wasting time on something of the past? We need to look at the future. Don't hold up the stimulus for that. So there was a perceptive indication that they could converge, but it's not the case. So your unemployment numbers is a direct trigger of the consequence of those two events. One, shutdown. Two, money is not going into the people's hands. So they have to necessarily claim. Yeah.
Sir, let's take a quick look at one success story in online streaming, Disney, and this will be our last story for the day. So take it away.
Right. Okay. I think I'll give you a quick headline on the Disney. Disney has been a fascinating. We touched a little bit on that. They embarked on a story which is they're going to, get past Netflix. Then they brought the whole media and content teams together as an integrated story. Now they are reporting the numbers have now shot past 84 million. On a combined basis, they believe they will hit 240 million subscribers well ahead of time by 2024 or 2025. They calibrated as Disney Plus. And it is about, they have expanded the content to more than 100 plus films, which is some of the major features like Star Wars and so on. And they said it is not about volume, it is about quality. They believe now the digital content consumption, especially with a combination of pandemic and shutdowns and no outside entertainment, it is rapidly growing. So they need to retransform themselves to make these things available to their audiences, which is actually driving their usage.
So worldwide, Netflix is considered as the number one online content provider. How do they compare in terms of numbers with Netflix?
I think if I remember correct, the Netflix numbers is around 143 million. But mind you, you have to that Zulu, ESPN, Disney has got three other content assets and
So
distribution.
they're aggregating all that.
So they have not yet aggregated. When they aggregate, they're getting close to 105, 106, or 107 million users. Whereas Netflix is it's pure online play.
It's your unicorn, really. Yeah.
it's a unicorn. It's a pure online play, and now they have their own content. Previously, they used to have it's only produced content which they used to license. Now they have their own content. But what it means is that just like Amazon and Walmart and so on, it's like Disney is saying, I'm coming home. I'm coming home because content distribution and content is my business. And now my consumers have moved, and I want to be where my consumers are. I also want to be where my consumers are going to be, and that's in the online kind of distribution, online consumption business. So you may see proliferation of augmented reality, virtual reality, all these kinds of consumption patterns emerging. And most of these devices like iPhones and Samsungs have also gone through the roof, is because a lot of it is not about voice, but it is about content and entertainment.
Yes, indeed. Stay tuned. And as always, we'll be back Monday, first thing in the morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 a.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. IST, to talk about the events and happenings next week. There's going to be a lot happening over the weekend. So we have stretched our daily hangouts to close to 30 minutes in the last few episodes just because of the volume of content that we are covering. Viewers, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and also donate to our channel. Thanks for watching. Namaskar and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Namaskar and have a wonderful weekend.